the Swedish market is very transparent, and so is the society in Sweden.
Here you have amazing agents, but you also have people that started last week and were selling cars the week before.
Because they're coming from a market that they can trust. They want to rely on somebody that will give them that security. Will you have this information available to me?
That Swedish buyers spend the most per square meter. Why is that?
I guess that's...
So 5 things about Swedish buyers that we think agents should know. This is based on the Country File series that Franca de la Fuente do. I'm with Peter Franca, the managing partner. My name is Alfredo Bloy Dawson. And we're going to try and extract from all the different bits and pieces, all the different interviews, really what we think are the main bits. So Peter is. And the reason why Peter is going to do that is that, am I right saying you basically are the spearhead of the company? So you have how many lawyers?
We have 12 lawyers
at the moment.
4 offices.
By the time this video comes out, it'll probably be more. So 12 plus. And because you're the sort of the commercial managing partner, you kind of have you're an ex-agent yourself. A lot of the buyers and agents stuff that's coming in at that initial stage, you kind of look at assess the cases, don't you?
Yes, that's correct in a way. I mean, not all of them, of course. Not all our cases come through me, so to speak. But one of my responsibilities is to be in touch with a lot of agencies, and that means, of course, that I have many initial meetings with buyers. That can be in the initial stage to go through the buying procedure, maybe have a look at the reservation contract, initial questions, and of course, then if I need my team members, I would include them in that consultation. But yes, it does mean that I meet a lot of buyers, basically. So, and maybe that's a reason why, well, I have a lot of volume, let's say. I have a lot of conversations with buyers. And as an agent myself, I was an agent for 2 years here on the Costa del Sol. It makes me interested in the behavior of the buyers and why it could be good for agents to have this knowledge that we have been trying to extract from and through our... Well, that's why we have this project, basically, to help the market with some useful information.
Okay, so let's go straight into the first one. We should also add that you were a lawyer in Sweden as well. You are Swedish, so this should really be the one that we nail.
Yes,
right? Because you are actually Swedish.
I am.
Right. Okay, so what would you say? There are several differences between what buyers might expect, what the market is like in Sweden, the real estate market, and what it is here, and what Swedish buyers might expect when they come here. What would you say is the main one for you? Would you agree that maybe it's a surprise of how unregulated the whole process is? If we put it under a very wide...
I think it's difficult to say it's just one thing.
Okay.
I think there are many things that are very different from how properties are bought in Sweden. But if I can't say one thing, of course, then let's say then that you have subcategories to that one thing. That would be the transparency.
Right.
The Swedish market is very transparent, and so is the society in Sweden. Maybe we have in our legislations we have a high level of transparency, so people are used to have access to information very easily. Now, of course, through digital information. So that those kind of expectations, they bring with them Swedes to this market.
Right.
And when they don't have that information, when they can't find the information, when they can't receive it, or they struggle, they can get frustrated. And of course, that can affect how they behave when they are buying or not buying their property.
So being specific, I've got on my list of 5 things. The first one being technical inspection differences.
Yeah.
Now, according to the notes that I have, in Sweden, a technical inspection is typically done before they actually list the property. Tell me, what?
Well, the procedures maybe are changing a little bit when the technical inspections are done, but usually you have it, and when you're buying a house, you have the technical information about the property. But not only that, you have also the seller as a vendor, you are obliged to answer questions about the property, and you have to answer them, of course, truthfully. So you have to give them the potential buyers, haven't been made any renovation on the property when we were owners up to this point. Are there any issues or any problems, technical problems with property? You have to answer them truthfully, and you have to hand copies on this questionnaire to potential buyers. When it comes to the technical inspection, this is my experience because I've had many conversations with Swedish buyers, both while I was an agent, of course, but now also as a lawyer, and that they put a lot of weight into this many times. So, and we get that question.
So this is like their peace of mind that there's no surprises.
Yeah. How can we know? How can we find out the details about the technical status of the property? Not only legal, and of course we as lawyers, we don't do a technical due diligence of the property. We do a legal due diligence, but not the technical one. So I think if you can find the data, I mean, you're the expert. It would be interesting to see how many technical inspections are actually done through the initiative of Swedish buyers compared to maybe other nationalities. And I think you will find that there are a lot. So
that's Swedish buyers. That's what they expect. What do they actually get when they come here, or what don't they get? What's the common practice here to do with these?
When it comes to technical inspections?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it depends on the type of the property. Is it a house? Is it a townhouse? Or is it an apartment that's part of a community? But agents should at least know that this is something that they might either just think about or they will ask questions about. So how about how do we know if there's any problems with this property? Is the vendor then responsible for this? How can we find out, So this kind of conversations I usually have. And of course the answer is that to put it in maybe a little bit simple way, houses, yes, you should do a technical inspection. Townhouses, perhaps also. When it comes to apartments, you need to explain the legal differences between a Spanish apartment, because that's a different type of property compared to an apartment usually in Sweden. Because in Sweden, you actually buy a part of a community, theoretically. In Spain, of course, you buy the square meters that you can see. And the community of owners in Sweden, they can carry credits, they can have loans from the banks, etc. So it's a different kind of property.
Okay. So technical inspection is one. Now, next one I have on my list is transparency in pricing and bidding.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sweden.
I think that's interesting, Well, first of all, when it comes to pricing, you can find prices of all properties online very easily. You can go to several different portals, several websites. You can find on the map the property you're interested in. You can find the historical prices, if that's a correct word. You can see when it was bought the last time, for which price, etc. So you can find out for yourself if it's actually a relevant price that they're asking now. So on the topic of transparency and access to information, that is clearly one thing that it's highlighted here, I think. So prices are available for all properties, not only the current asking price, but also historical price.
Right, so what it's sold for in the past. So if you're looking at an apartment and it's on sale for 500,000, you can see that 3 years ago it sold for 400,000. So you would then try and see where the 100,000 added.
What did a neighbor's property sell for?
Right, okay, yeah. Okay, so that's something that I think comes up, I think, with all nationalities. Well, not all. A lot of nationalities that buy in Spain is the lack of information about historical sales prices of properties really throws them, not being able to check that. So they can't really work out the square meter price, and particularly here where you have urbanizations where properties are 5, 6, 7 million.
But I think the difference there is, we spoke about the Americans recently.
Yes.
So in America, you have this, similarities between Sweden and America is, of course, that you have certain regulations. The agents are working under strict regulations. But in America, I would say that you rely a lot on your broker. So your broker will tell you if this is the right price or not. In Sweden, you rely a bit more maybe on the information available that you can access yourself, public information.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So then that leads nicely on to point 3, which is in Sweden, agents are licensed. Here they're not. And now that isn't in itself that interesting, but really is what's expected in terms of what maybe is assumed about the level of knowledge and expertise of the agent is quite different from what they might get here. Now, here you have amazing agents, but you also have people that started last week and were selling cars the week before. So would you say that's one of the things that concerns or surprises buyers, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, it can, but I think nowadays what I see, and I think you can agree with me, that buyers are doing a lot of research. It's more unusual now to meet a new buyer and they don't have any information. So all the information is available online, more or less. You can read, our brochures. You can read a portal, area descriptions, etc., area guides, and so on. So Swedes have usually that kind of information. But what I think the detail here, which is interesting, is that because they're coming from a market that they can trust, they have the information about the prices. The bidding that we will talk about is very transparent as well. So they want to rely on somebody that will give them that security. Will you have this information available to me? And if they get a sense that I don't really get the information that I need, then they might not be able maybe to trust that agent, and they will look for something.
So I suppose this broker thing, the license, is more rather something agents should know, is something buyers should know, that it's not licensed over here. So you can't take for granted a minimum amount of expertise and knowledge from an agent. You have to sort of do your own due diligence on that agent to know whether you can trust the advice they're giving you, because there aren't many industries where you can give advice for a transaction in the millions with zero qualifications. It's quite unusual.
Yeah.
So I think that's more of a buyer beware sort of thing, that not all agents are the same, because there isn't a minimum threshold of knowledge required. So that's probably one thing. So here's another one that is more of a statistical one that I think is quite interesting, is despite all of these things, that Swedish buyers spend the most per square meter than any other foreign nationality buying property in Spain. I think it's excess of 3,000 plus per square meter. Is rich already Sweden?
I suppose that agents on the coast can probably answer that question better than me. But my simple maybe reflection on this is that Swedes wants to have something that is, similar to what they can find in Sweden in terms of quality, material quality, etc. So I think that they are more leaning towards buying finished products, so that can be refurb apartments or new developments, etc. And those products are of course more expensive than maybe others, right?
Right. So then that leads me to the fifth point, which links to that very nicely. And that is something that we find with some other nationalities, is because we're in a foreign, this is the second home market primarily, the home market, domestic market in Sweden, if it's going well, if it's not going well, their expectation is that the same thing will be happening here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I have to say. I mean, we know that the market in Sweden has been suffering for a while, and that is, of course, due to, the Swedish currency is quite weak. Inflation was a problem in many countries, but in Sweden, definitely a problem. The banks are very restrictive on giving out mortgages and loans and so on. So then it calms down the whole market in Sweden. And that, of course, is not only a statistical information, it's something that also affects the psychology of the people in that country. So definitely that has an impact. And me living in Spain and meeting a lot of Swedes, I can definitely notice this. So of course, your state of mind, maybe you believe that the situation is the same in Spain as it is in Sweden. And I think that is a conversation that many agents will have with Swedes, that even though the market is very weak in Sweden right now, prices are going up here.
Right.
And so I have heard quite many times actually that Swedish buyers are thinking about waiting. Let's wait because the prices will go down. And then when the market is back in Sweden again, then I will buy it because I will benefit from that price drop. And many times it's not the case.
So I guess the takeaway from that is that agents should ideally be a little bit aware of what's happening in the country that the buyer is from, in this case Sweden. And if the market is strong there, they expect a strong market here. If the market is weak there, they may well expect discounts or the market to be very different. And that is part of the education process, I think, with the buyer to say, look, it's just because the market here is actually quite strong. Prices are going up. Leaving it longer means you're paying more money. So if you're in a position to buy, then move. Would that be fair?
That would be fair. And I think this maybe an approach that could be, I'm not doing the job anymore, but I think it's reasonable to reflect on these differences, at least from an agent's point of view. And if you're working with a Swedish buyer, you haven't before, have a look in the brochure just to see and reflect on these differences. And then, of course, make a plan for that. How can I inform the Swedish buyer in a good way what differences we have in Sweden compared to Spain? And also back that up with the data and the information about the price increases and the prices on the market, etc. Then you have a better chance of having your client relying on you because the Swedish buyer will feel that, this is an agent which actually have all the information that I am used to and that I need to make my decision.
Okay, so those are 5. Maybe we're going to throw one bonus one in there, which links to the theme throughout. Is one of the things that the Swedish buyers are quite surprised about is this idea of dual agents, 2 agencies, estate agencies being involved in one transaction, how the bidding process works, and even the fact that, this idea that listings aren't exclusive, so any agent can sell any listing, all that part of it kind of goes into the transparency element, but it really is a different thing here. And I think buyers from a lot of countries are surprised when they're talking to one agent and they go to a view and there's another agent that has the listing and they're... Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, consider how it works in Sweden then. So the bidding process is completely open, transparent. So I can go online to one of the main portals in Sweden right now and I will see if there's an offer on a certain property and I can make a decision to enter into that bidding process. And when the bidding process is finished, the broker will send me a list of, I think I actually with the phone numbers as well, and all the bids that has been on that property. And of course, that will for me, of course, the Swedish buyer will give me, the security that I know that this bidding process has been correct and I'm not being fooled. I have the information and I can trust this information. In Spain, we don't have that, right? So we don't have a list of bidders. We usually don't have bidders at all.
In Spain, it's a phone call from your agent to the person with the listing going, hey, how about this much?
So, I think it can be difficult, of course, because many times, things happens very quickly. You have a buyer, they want to make an offer for that property and you enter into that buying process or bidding process very quickly, right? Can be a weekend, can be an evening, but maybe just give it a few minutes together with your client and go through the process here now. So I'm your agent now. I will present an offer to the vendor's agent. The vendor will speak to the owner, and they will come back to us. To maybe do the bidding in written actually, so the Swedish buyer can see that we have now made this offer, just to make the let's say the bidding procedure a little bit more transparent, clear.
So I think the takeaway here is that as an agent selling to Swedish buyers is if you want it to go smoothly, the more you can explain about what the process is here, how it works, how it doesn't work, the less surprises or frustrations or unnecessary delays to the process will be for the buyer and therefore for the deal to go through. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And don't Swedish, I won't speak for everyone, but I don't think we're famous, at least for being very outspoken and direct in Sweden compared to other countries. So Swedes are a little bit more thinkers and they keep things for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, reserved. So ask questions. We will make an offer for this property now. Do you have any questions? Do you want to know more about how this process will work from here on, and etc. Right? So that you invite them to ask those questions, because the process is everything from the research, from the viewings, second viewings, and then you have the bidding.
Right. So just because they're not complaining and saying they want to know loads of things doesn't mean they don't want to know things.
No.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Thank you very much, Peter. And on to the next one.